All right, Ryan, that's right. The who is it, Ryan? The Paul Blue Demons. I know we just came off of like a 10-minute laughing discussion with each other. So y'all have to excuse us while we gather ourselves for this last check-in. Ryan, and we are all something very special happening. We are also looking forward not only to this matchup against DePaul, bouncing back after that very, very shocking loss. To some, maybe not shocking, but to others, I know it's shocking to me. But anyhow, very special because we have another one of our subscribers joining us this Saturday to recap the Huskies and the Blue Demons game right here on Listen Up. And I can't wait. We all know that you can't wait. Ryan can't wait. So, Ryan, what do you have as number 4 Connecticut squares off against the DePaul Blue Demons? And we all know, Ryan, how big of a threat Anissa Morrow is, the sophomore out of Chicago, Illinois. So again, we've already seen this team one time, the last time we see them on the regular season schedule.
Well, before we get into DePaul, I got some news tonight, recording this on Thursday night. This will be out Friday morning, but we got some news about the March Madness bracket. NCAA revealed the top 16 teams. UConn came in at number 7, which makes them a number 2 seed in the Greenville region. Now, last time they were the number 1 seed, but top 4 seeds are South Carolina, Indiana, Stanford, and Utah. So UConn drops from the number 1 seed from the first reveal. Now the second reveal, they're the number 2 seed. So I'm assuming because of the losses to Marquette and, of course, the most recent one to St. John's, it would be the reasoning behind that. But let's get into DePaul.
And I know you're not paying any attention to it.
No, not too much just yet. Yeah. Still got the Big East tournament, but DePaul Blue Demons 15-4 conference record of 8-10. I don't think the Blue Demons will make March Madness, but they haven't had a bad season. Haven't had the best season either. UConn and DePaul's first matchup was postponed and then played at a later date on January 23rd, where UConn would win that game by 43 points, and the Huskies poured in almost a season high of 94 points. Everything was working for UConn in that game, even without Azzi Fudd and Caroline Ducharme on the court. We saw Aubrey and Aaliyah both get double-doubles. Dorka came close to getting one herself, and Lou also poured in 20 points during that game. But I don't think this game on Saturday will be anything like that one about a month ago. Even with UConn having Caroline back in the lineup,
yeah, I
think they'll score less points. And I think on the other side as well, DePaul will score more than the 51 points they had. Yeah. Anissa Morrow was held to 20 the last time. Didn't have the best shooting performance. So UConn, they do always do a pretty good job at stopping the other the other opposing team's key player or star player for that team. So I think that the focus is obviously going to be limiting or trying to limit Anissa Morrow again. And again, I think that some of the focus is similar to what it is with a lot of these Big East teams that UConn plays, which is guarding the 3-point line. DePaul is another team that shoots about 20 to 30 3-point shots per game. Anissa Morrow, along with Kendall Holmes and Deroney Rogers, take most of the shots for the Blue Demons. So I think if UConn can dominate the rebounding battle like they did last time, definitely going to help them win this game. I'd also like to see UConn keep on staying aggressive on offense, driving the ball inside, trying to get some foul calls, get to the line. But ultimately, the game, I think, is gonna come down to the effort and energy put forth by UConn. The question is, can they or do they have the energy to play all 4 quarters? But I guess we'll find out on Saturday.
Yeah, and again, this is a Phil and Rye on Listen Up. Good morning to everyone on this Friday, the 24th of February. As we're checking in one last time as this regular season comes to a close, almost, Ryan, at the finish line as far as the regular season. And we're previewing DePaul and UConn. Ryan, don't look now, but Anissa Morrow, she's actually coming off of one of her best games this season against Villanova. We talked about how much power Villanova, the Wildcats, have Yeah, I mean, Siegrist, you look at Siegrist in the last matchup against DePaul. Siegrist had 28 points, 16 rebounds. So there was that double-double, but the double-double that I'm more focused on, just because of UConn facing Villanova, is Anissa Morrow. I mean, she puts in quality minutes. She stays out of foul trouble. And not only does we talk about the points and the rebounds, so she had 19 rebounds and 29 points, but I thought it was interesting. I wanted to get your take on it. I looked under, and not only do I pay attention, again, the rebounds, assists, and the points, but sometimes I like to point out how many minutes in a game that they play, because that defines a lot of the foul trouble that they may get in, that they may not get in. She played 40 minutes. Anissa Morrow, 40 minutes in that 3-point loss against Villanova the other night. So I just wanted to point that out to you. And again, I think at this point now, I'm not saying I'm not leaning towards the direction of Ryan. Okay, it's got to be some dirty ball in order to start winning these ball games. No.
Right.
All right, stick with the game plan and go with it. But at the same time, I'm sure Gino knows that. But at the same time, Ryan, aren't you understanding? I mean, pretty much these top players now, even though you said DePaul is not probably going to make March Madness, they're still in UConn's way as of right now, until Saturday night is over. So with that said, these top players, and not only with DePaul, but what's your message? What is your message? What's your take as far as how do you shut down the big name players on these rosters, the teams that we have to face coming up? Is that I mean, obviously the foul trouble. Do you hopefully they get in foul trouble early, and then that forces head coach to push them out of the game? Or do they just foul out altogether early in the late in the third, early in the fourth?
Well, I think for one thing, it's going to start with the effort by UConn. And like we've seen over the past probably a month now, it varies game to game. Some games they look like they have all the energy and they've been rested for about a week. And some games it looks like they're coming off of a back-to-back. But I mean, with that said, I think it's just going to depend and vary from game to game about how much energy UConn has and the effort that they put forth from game to game as well. It's going to be a grind. I got 2 games left, of course, on the regular season, and then not long after that is the Big East tournament. So, it's obviously going to be a long grind to March Madness, but I think it's going to take energy and effort. I think in terms of defense and guarding some of the team's best players, I mean, obviously we know Nika plays really good defense every single night, heart and soul of the team, like we say multiple times. But I think another big player for UConn on defense has always been, or most of the time, is Aaliyah Edwards. We saw her shut down Maddie Siegrist the other night. When they played Villanova and limited her really both games they played Villanova. She did a good job against Aaliyah Boston, especially in the first half. But I mean, I think for Dorka as well, I mean, she's so big inside the post that she can definitely has the potential to play really good defense. But I think in terms of defense, Nika Mule and Aaliyah Edwards are definitely the leaders. Albury plays pretty good defense as well. So, I mean, with UConn, they usually play pretty good defense. But again, I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to the effort.
Yeah, and again, it may not always be that top scoring player that may be the threat on that specific night. I just wanted to point out, Ryan, don't look now, but 2018, 19, and 20, the Big East champions were DePaul. All right, so I'm not too sure if you were aware of that or not. So obviously in 21 and 22, UConn was at the top again in the conference, but again, this is kind of unsettling business, unfinished business, if you will, right? Because usually we're used to seeing UConn just year after year under that winning column when it comes to the Big East. But man, I mean, the Big East in 18, 19, and 20, it has DePaul, it has DePaul listed under that winning column, the championship column. So yeah, it's definitely, it's going to get fun. And again, I just want to point that out because it's a lot of, even though kind of a down year, if you will, I guess, for DePaul this season, there's a lot on the line in this game. I mean, I think it's really the trust factor for Gino about how to approach this game. And again, I think that we're really looking at maybe down the road here a bigger rival matchup in years to come if DePaul can really step up in the next 2, 3, maybe even 4 years and just continue to improve.
Yeah, and it also seems that way with a lot of these Big East teams, to be honest. Villanova, St. John's, even Creighton, Marquette. I mean, all these teams are getting better and better, which is good and bad at the same time. Not so good for UConn, although it does improve their resume when they can beat these teams. But it is better for college basketball in general, and really just the overall competition of the Big East conference in general. But yeah, I mean, for a lot of these teams, it seems to be becoming a rivalry, and especially with Villanova these past 2 years with Matty Siegrist. But it definitely is really exciting when some of these conference teams that UConn plays are so tight, a lot closer than what they used to be. That's for sure.
All right, how about some comments, and then we will head on out and get ready for Jason tomorrow, Ryan. Brian Garcia, UConn won't be making a Final Four this year. It will all come to an end. It will all come to end this season. All the streaks are coming to an end. UConn better pray they don't end up in the South Carolina region in the NCAA tournament. The times have changed. This team needs AZ.
Yeah, I can. I'm gonna say I wouldn't disagree with that. If I'm not mistaken, I think UConn was put in Stanford's region, I think, but I'd have to double check on that. I don't think they were in South Carolina's, but I definitely agree with Azia. I think UConn desperately needs her back more than ever because of her offense. I mean, Lou is obviously a great scorer. Nika can hit a couple of threes every now and then. She drives the ball. Aubrey has been having a little rough time scoring the ball, along with, unfortunately, Dorka and Aaliyah as well inside the paint. They were so good earlier in the year, but the past couple of games they've really been struggling. So we definitely desperately need AZ Fudd back for her offense, and it does seem like a lot of these streaks, like I mentioned on that game recap, a lot of them have been coming to an end, which is really unfortunate. But that just goes to show how good UConn is every single year in the history of this program. But it definitely is going to be a grind to try to get back to that Final Four.
And I think it's kind of disrespectful to the girls that have been grinding it out all year on the floor for this UConn Huskies team. So let's not forget what the healthy UConn Huskies players have done for this team and this program this year. It takes a lot of energy and mental toughness to go out there on the floor game after game, especially if you're in a UConn jersey nowadays. So let's just not forget how good that they, I mean, you know, for Pete's sake, Ryan, just waking up in the morning, and tying your shoes, putting on your backpack and going to class. It's a struggle. I mean, we get it. I mean, because the reason I bring that up, I think not only they need AZ, but I think you say they need a lot of players to return. And then, you know, some more newcomers coming in next year, some rookie players, and then some more, you know, it just stacks up. But again, you say, well, I think they need this player back and that player back. Let's just not forget all the hard work that's already been that they have been showing and accomplishing. And I know, well, that game was played without AZ Fudd against South Carolina. Am I correct?
It was, yeah.
And I think, just very quickly, we talked about it this morning on the phone. I didn't see a lot of comments that I may be wrong. So excuse me if I am, but I didn't see a lot of comments what we specifically talked about. It was very interesting, even though UConn lost against South Carolina. After that South Carolina matchup, Ryan, it just seemed like things, even the wins, it seemed like things were just going downhill. And it seems like they have not really picked back up yet. Yes, they beat Villanova, but it's just something about that South Carolina game, you know, and I think in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, even if we would have beat South Carolina, what if we would have still been struggling even after that game? So, you know, we're sitting here, Ryan, we just shouldn't have played South Carolina. That's it.
It definitely is weird. I definitely can't figure out why. Like you mentioned, it just seems like after the South Carolina game, it's all the air just deflated out of.
Do you feel me? Do you understand though? Even though if UConn would have beat South Carolina, would we be looking at the same issue sitting here right now?
I mean, honestly, we probably would. I mean, it definitely feel a lot better if they would have beat South Carolina. But I mean, I think in terms of the energy and all of that kind of stuff, I think we would have still had the same problem. So, but like I was gonna say, after the South Carolina game, it just seemed like all the energy that UConn had left went into that game. And like you kind of said, it just seems like they haven't been able to get it back ever since.
Yep. Hey, how about time for one more? Rachel Fight, thanks for coming through. We haven't heard from her in a while. I think St. John's played great for a team of their skill level, but UConn was capable of winning this. Sure, the deck is stacked against them and they are very tired. But if they had finished at the rim consistently at 90% and 90% of those missed shots had gone in, they would have had a lead on St. John's and probably won. A lack of offensive production and turnovers is hurting right now. Also, there is some terrible officiating going on right now in the women's game. If you stay with someone on a drive and defend them with your body and hands straight up, how are you drawing contact and earning a foul, even if the person with the ball creates the supposed contact? That's weird basketball. Teams that are unranked know that now is the time to beat UConn while some of the best players in the league rehab and sit on their bench. Very, very good comment, Ryan. Wow, a lot to break down there.
Well, and like I said it in the couple past game recaps, that the officiating obviously isn't going to be perfect, but there have been quite a few calls that we could say have gone against UConn and a couple calls that definitely haven't went our way. But in terms of finishing at the rim, it definitely has been a problem. It's a big issue. A lot of these players driving to the rim, Aaliyah and Dorka getting it inside, not being able to finish. And like I already said, they've been having a problem dominating the paint and scoring like they were earlier in the season. So it definitely is a big problem when you get the ball inside and can't get one, a foul call, or two, make the basket, or third, the third option, do both of those things. But it definitely is a struggle right now, and especially because of the rebounding as well. They got out rebounded against St. John's, which shouldn't really happen, in my opinion, to a lot of these teams considering UConn's size. But again, I hate to keep bringing it up, but that just goes back to the effort. And I think on a couple of those plays that I remember watching the replays of, a couple of players on UConn, it's just like they run back already on defense before they get the defensive rebound. So a lot of questionable mistakes by UConn, I'd say, that we definitely aren't used to seeing.
Connecticut, DePaul, tomorrow, Ryan, 2:00 at Wintrust Arena. And we want to extend our thanks to Fox Sports for covering this matchup, nationally televised ball game. Nothing like that. You already know there's nothing like that. Jason D'Amico, we will be calling your number next. It's Phil and Rye on Listen Up.